I shall be dizzy, I said. The more reason why we should go up, we must get used to it. But, come, I tell you, don't waste our time. I had to obey. A keeper who lived at the other end of the street handed us the key, and the ascent began. My uncle went ahead with a light step. I followed him not without alarm, for my head was very apt to feel dizzy. I possessed neither the equilibrium of an eagle nor his fearless nature. As long as we were protected on the inside of the winding staircase up the tower, all was well enough. But after toiling up 150 steps the fresh air came to salute my face, and we were on the leads of the tower. There the aerial staircase began its gyrations, only guarded by a thin iron rail, and the narrowing steps seemed to ascend into infinite space. Never shall I be able to do it, I said. Don't be a coward, come up, sir, said my uncle with the coldest cruelty. I had to follow, clutching at every step. The keen air made me giddy, I felt the spire rocking with every gust of wind, my knees began to fail. Soon I was crawling on my knees, then creeping on my stomach. I closed my eyes, I seemed to be lost in space. At last I reached the apex, with the assistance of my uncle dragging me up by the collar. Look down, he cried. Look down well. You must take a lesson in abysses. I opened my eyes. I saw houses squashed flat as if they had all fallen down from the skies, a smoke fog seemed to drown them. Over my head ragged clouds were drifting past, and by an optical inversion they seemed stationary, while the steeple, the ball and I were all spinning along with fantastic speed. Far away on one side was the green country, on the other the sea sparkled, bathed in sunlight. The Sound stretched away to Elsinore, dotted with a few white sails, like seagulls' wings, and in the misty east and away to the northeast lay outstretched the faintly shadowed shores of Sweden. All this immensity of space whirled and wavered, fluctuating beneath my eyes. But I was compelled to rise, to stand up, to look. My first lesson in dizziness lasted an hour. When I got permission to come down and feel the solid street pavements, I was afflicted with severe lumbago. Tomorrow we will do it again, said the professor. And it was so, For 5 days in succession, I was obliged to undergo this anti-vertiginous exercise, and whether I would or not, I made some improvement in the art of lofty contemplations. Chapter 9. Iceland. But what next? The day for our departure arrived. The day before it, our kind friend M. Thompson brought us letters of introduction to Count Tramp, the governor of Iceland, M. Picturson, the bishop's suffragan, and M. Finson, mayor of Reykjavik. My uncle expressed his gratitude by tremendous compressions of both his hands. On the 2nd, at 6 in the evening, all our precious baggage being safely on board the Valkyria, the captain took us into a very narrow cabin. "Is the wind favorable?" my uncle asked. "Excellent," replied Captain Bion, a sou'easter. "We shall pass down the Sound full speed, with all sails set." In a few minutes the schooner, under her mizzen, brigantine, topsail, and topgallant sail, loosed from her moorings and made full sail through the straits. In an hour the capital of Denmark seemed to sink below the distant waves, and the Valkyria was skirting the coast by Elsinore. In my nervous frame of mind I expected to see the ghost of Hamlet wandering on the legendary castle terrace. "Sublime madman," I said, "no doubt you would approve of our expedition." "Perhaps you would keep us company to the center of the globe, to find the solution of your eternal doubts." But there was no ghostly shape upon the ancient walls. Indeed, the castle is much younger than the heroic Prince of Denmark. It now answers the purpose of a sumptuous lodge for the doorkeeper of the Straits of the Sound, before which every year there pass 15,000 ships of all nations. The castle of Kronsberg soon disappeared in the mist, as well as the tower of Helsingborg, built on the Swedish coast, and the schooner passed lightly on her way urged by the breezes of the Kattegat. The Valkyria was a splendid sailor, but on a sailing vessel you can place no dependence. She was taking to Reykjavik coal, household goods, earthenware, woolen clothing, and a cargo of wheat. The crew consisted of 5 men, all Danes. "How long will the passage take?" my uncle asked. 10 days, the captain replied, if we don't meet a nor'wester in passing the Faroes. But are you not subject to considerable delays? No, M. Liedenbrock, don't be uneasy, we shall get there in very good time. At evening the schooner doubled the Skaw at the northern point of Denmark, in the night passed the Skagerrak, skirted Norway by Cape Lindus, and entered the North Sea. In 2 days more we sighted the coast of Scotland near Peterhead, and the Valkyria turned her lead towards the Faroe Islands, passing between the Orkneys and Shetlands. Soon the schooner encountered the great Atlantic swell, she had to tack against the north wind, and reached the Faroes only with some difficulty. On the 8th the captain made out Mygonus, the southernmost of these islands, and from that moment took a straight course for Cape Portland, the most southerly point of Iceland. The passage was marked by nothing unusual. I bore the troubles of the sea pretty well. My uncle, to his own intense disgust, and his greater shame, was ill all through the voyage. He therefore was unable to converse with the captain about Snaefell, the way to get to it, the facilities for transport. He was obliged to put off these inquiries until his arrival, and spent all his time at full length in his cabin, of which the timbers creaked and shook with every pitch she took. It must be confessed he was not undeserving of his punishment. On the 11th we reached Cape Portland. The clear open weather gave us a good view of Myrtle's Jökull, which overhangs it. The cape is merely a low hill with steep sides, standing lonely by the beach.